Woman sets up friend for 8-man rape gang. Honestly, this is mind-blowing. It is very shocking and it's very detestable. What sort of a woman would this be? Now, what actually happened was that in Yola, that's in Adamawa State, in the northern part of Yola, that was on June 12. How ironic it is that something this heinous would happen on June 12. That should represent democracy, that should represent things very glorious and independence and freedom and things like that. Just gracious things. And then you have to commit such a terrible crime on that day. Honestly, I understand that criminals don't care about what day it is. Crimes always happen. That's just how life is. But now this woman, Zainab Jafaru, 30 years old, who is the culprit. Now what she actually did was that she lured her friend, 33-year-old friend, to follow her to her boyfriend's place. Then on getting to the place, it was already pre-planned. She just snuck out of the place. So suddenly she was nowhere to be found, and then the boyfriend and then his friends suddenly ganged up on the friend of his girlfriend and raped her one after the other. Like, they all raped her. 8 men. Just imagine how horrible that would be. It's very, very heinous. It's very, very terrible. 8 of them. They ganged up on her and raped her. Now, we have been talking about this theme of rape and gang rape and whatever it is, just gender-based violence generally in Nigeria in the past few weeks. That's what I've been talking about. And this is just another iteration of this. It's just very, very terrible. Now, according to the police, they have already arrested 4 of those gang rapists, with Zainab herself making 5 arrests already. But the boyfriend escaped, so the boyfriend is still at large. Nobody knows where he is right now. And honestly, I really wish they catch that stupid boyfriend. Like, that's not how to be a manly person. It's just so disgusting. Just imagine that. It's very disgusting. And honestly, this shows again that it's, when you talk about all this issue of rape, now I understand for the most part it's just the men doing it, not all men again, just the terrible ones doing all these things. But you have to always include the part where women contribute to. Talk about the Me Too movement in the United States, especially in Hollywood. Most women that were in Hollywood knew about those secrets. They knew about all those things. They didn't do anything. That's just it. So many times when people are being abused, when people are being used by powerful men or by men doing violence to women, many times there are women around those places too, accompanying them and helping them out, actually assisting the men to do those evils. So we have to point out that these things exist, and we have to call out those women who help in abusing their own fellow women. Now we have to call them out. We have to call them out because that's just the reality. We can't just focus on realistically on the men alone. If the men know that they can't have like allies in the army of the women when it comes to abusing women, they are going to be more careful in doing things like that. Even possibly not even do stuff like that anymore. That's just the fact. So that's one of the things there. Imagine if you're the chief executive of a particular company and then you're abusing one of your employees while your secretary is out there sitting down there and knows about everything and is actually helping you to run all the package and everything like that. Are you going to say that the woman, that secretary, is not culpable in any way whatsoever? I'm not saying she's doing it, but she has to be culpable in one way or the other. So that's the problem. So in this particular case now, a woman actually lured another woman to get raped. So who are you going to blame the most in this issue? Honestly, I'm going to blame that bastard Zainab. That's the woman I'm going to blame the most, even more than the terrible rapist that did it, because the person that sold you out is much more egregious. Did something much more egregious. Honestly, you trusted your safety to her and then she sold you out. The sin of betrayal is much more greater than this. Honestly, the way I see it now, those people that did those things still bear the responsibility for whatever they did, which was horrible. But honestly, that woman is an absolute crazy woman. Like, she's just completely psychotic. She has to be crazy somewhere. She has to have some sort of mental illness or something like that. I just don't know how to contain or just understand. It's just so terrible. And of course, you have to understand one of the reasons why rape can be very horrible for women. Men get horny very easily, so it's very easy for a man to get aroused and go for sex very easily. It's not so much of a problem. A man can have sex with anybody without having any sort of attachments, attachment in any sort of emotional way. But women, not all, of course, the same thing for the men, not all, but most women tend to want to have sex with somebody that they feel loved by. So if somebody loves them, that's the person they are most likely going to want to surrender themselves to. But even if it's somebody that they don't really love them, but they really want to have the choice to choose who they surrender themselves to, whether it's in the heat of passion or whatever it is always that way. But when you defile them, even if it's somebody they love that defiles them, it feels like something was stolen away from them. So it's always like you have been robbed. That's the way they're going to feel for the rest of their life. That's one of the reasons why some of these women commit suicide sometimes, because it's something very painful deep down in that person's mindset forever. It's just like you've just burnt an iron, hot iron, into the person's mind. It's something very terrible. That's one of the reasons why it's very painful to women. And of course, like I said again, women contribute to some of this gender-based violence also. So let's quit all this nonsense about focusing on the men alone. For example, prostitution. Some of the people who actually prostitute women, most especially in Nigeria, are women themselves. Women are the ones that will recruit women for prostitutions. Women are the ones that will recruit other women for Olusho stuff. Women are the ones that will recruit other women for sex trafficking to Italy, to other places. They are usually women, the madams, all of them. They are the women doing it. So if you're going to be saying that this thing is just one-sided, you are going to be very, very wrong, and you're going to be very, very biased. It's both sides, whether men or women. Everybody has to get their hands on deck to stop this heinous crime. Not just the men, but the women also. That's just the way it is. And honestly, the fact is that, which is of course the worst part, she may actually get off scot-free, or like easily, and that's the Zainab, the culprit in this case. She may actually leave the jail as soon as possible, because of course she's a woman. There's always this sort of bias for women that honestly, generally speaking, even in the developed countries where you might think that maybe there's a little bit of gender parity, maybe there's a little bit of equality and egalitarianism and stuff like that, people still tend to give the women sort of a leeway when it comes to the criminal code. Do you think they are going to convict a woman the same way they are going to convict a man for the same type of offense? The data does not show that. Whether in Nigeria, whether in the United States, whether in Britain, there is always this sort of leniency that is granted women. That's why anytime there is a sort of dispute and it comes to maybe divorce or anything like that, the women always tend to get the fair share. They always tend to be the ones that will get the possession of the children. They will always be the one to get custody, because there's always this swing towards, women can't really hurt people. Women can't really hurt people. Even when you are seeing it and it's exactly right in your face right there, you are still going to have that bias. Like, it's just a woman. We don't want to do what you would do to a man to a woman. So what a man is going to do to you under a normal condition, you're going to slap him or punch him in the nose. Usually you are just going to wave yourself for a woman. Sometimes she's just a woman and all of that. So honestly, I'm starting to guess this thing might happen, that she may actually go scot-free, which is very, very terrible. I'm not saying that's what will exactly happen, but it may happen. So we're going to be keeping in touch and see what is going to go on with this story. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. It's always Naija on Seal, and bye.